Film Companion gets you your film fix. Hit the bell icon and subscribe to get notified every time we drop a new video.
Despite this screenplay having been first written in 2007 and the events in this film from the late 60s, this movie is just so relevant right now. Hey guys, my name is Sucharita, this is Film Companion, you're watching Not a Movie Review, and right now I am not going to be reviewing the trial of the Chicago 7.
We're going to Chicago to protest the Vietnam War.
Set in Chicago, this is the story of 8 men who were put on trial on charges of conspiracy and intent of starting a riot. 1 out of the 8 is separated from this group on account of a mistrial, and then this group comes to be known as the Chicago 7. Their trial, which lasted many months, is the background of this story about equality, justice denied, racism, impact of popular culture, media frenzy, police brutality, power-drunk leaders, citizen participation in politics, the importance of dissent, brotherhood, the futility of war, implications of war, and just like humanity. If it sounds like it's a lot, that's because it is. To understand this complicated chapter in American history, Aaron Sorkin wants you to be taken in by the scale of the devastation caused by the Vietnam War. Not just in Vietnam, but also in America. He's put together a cast of actors who not only stand tall and magnificent on their own, but they also enhance each other's performances quite selflessly, acknowledging the necessity for a big spectacle to bring attention to those events which have changed shape but seem to be repeating themselves in a way right now. And this film needed big name actors like Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, even a guest appearance by Michael Keaton, because it needs you to pay attention urgently. And creating a scene to attract attention is in the very soul of the story. 2 of the Chicago 7, Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, played by Sacha Baron Cohen and my Succession boyfriend Jeremy Strong, respectively, they are shown to be founding members of the Youth International Party, or the Yippies. They smoke weed, they play rock music, hold peaceful protests, street theater, stand-up comedy, anything that's needed to get the cameras going to make their political statements. You know, if you've paid attention to political developments in India and in the world, protests, legal things, indictments, jailing and release of protesters, journalists, aside from the pandemic, these have been the loudest headlines. The trial of the Chicago 7 provides an insight into this civil disobedience which mainstream news probably doesn't have access to or interest in. Director Aaron Sorkin obviously is sympathetic towards the defendants in the same way history and subsequent research and judgments on the case have been, and he wants you to understand why. When he's telling you the story, a cleverly designed and edited non-linear screenplay keeps revealing small and big twists and new characters, keeping the case evolving, increasing the stakes, impressing how ridiculously the odds were stacked against the defendants. If you've seen Sorkin's feature film directorial debut Molly's Game, you might recognize this bank heisty style of suspense building, which lends itself so wonderfully to the historical events in the spotlight here. The first few minutes of the screenplay are overwhelming, just because of the sheer number of new people being introduced. All the Chicago 7, Black Panther Party, the lawyers, the prosecution team. You're thrown in the middle of turmoil, and you might find yourself gasping for breath a bit, trying to understand who everyone is and what's going on. But there's masterful writing at play. After the film shows you the whirlwind events which led to the riots and the trial, it tells you to settle in, tells you to watch the trial at peace. It slows down the pace, mimicking real life. The very many things I mentioned in the movie is talking about: racism, war, brotherhood, old white men taking themselves entirely too seriously. For real, the judge Hoffman presiding over this case was born in the 1800s IRL. The film keeps bringing these in using smart cutaways and flashbacks. Sacha Baron Cohen as Abby, through his regular evening speeches, uses exposition as ammunition, updating his audience with what was going on in the courts, keeping them and us involved, and after the initial barrage of information, laying things out clearly and succinctly. The trial of the Chicago 7 is designed to make you angry and awaken you to the reality that decisions taken by unseen, powerful men in closed rooms have real life impact on all our lives. And if we don't wake up to this reality, history is bound to repeat itself. The film succeeds in making us aware of our shared humanity and the evils which exist in any system where there is an imbalance of power. I use this as an opportunity to read up more about what happened in Chicago in 1968, what happened after, and how that affected the justice system of the nation. For instance, that the only black defendant, Bobby Seale, was physically bound and gagged in court, not just for a few minutes as the film shows, but in fact for a few days before a mistrial was finally announced. It's a great learning opportunity, y'all. Take it up. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, the trial of the Chicago 7 is 4,500 names of fallen soldiers defendant Tom Hayden begins to read when asked to make his closing arguments to the jury. A cinematic scene, obviously written for the big screen goosebumps, which no one can experience right now, also reminds you of this shared pandemic we're living in. Man, this was a good film. Alright, subscribe to Film Companion. I'll see you around.